don't you think?
Ready, we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, America! Welcome to ZBTX News. Probably the lowest budget news station you'll ever watch, but hey, it's all you can afford. Today, we will be discussing the rise of the most dangerous and hated group in America. I'm of course referring to Nazis, so basically Republicans. We have now the most hated man ever to exist, our President Donald Trump, in our sacred presidential office. But how did we get such a vile man in such a high position? Who would support or propagate such horrendous views of a literal Nazi? Why, but of course, it's as many Goebbels, such as Ben Shapiro, Milo Yiannopoulos, Steven Crowder, and even a man who dared to come to our hometown and speak, Charlie Kirk. These men claim to support free speech, yet they use it to spew hatred and harm to other people. Luckily, we have a front line of defense. Antifa. The name Antifa is short for anti-fascist. And luckily, they shot down an event of Milo's at UC Berkeley with violent, fascist-esque tactics by causing riots, thus shutting down the event. Even though Antifa used unsavory tactics, we need more activists like them to keep such bigotry from seeping out of the lips of these alt-right figures. If you can't comprehend the hatred being regurgitated from these conservative mouthpieces, here's a quote from Ben Shapiro. "Transgenderism is a mental illness." End quote. Can you believe such vile words came from that man's tongue? In fact, talking about tongues, we should probably just solve the problem by chopping off their tongues. It isn't like their hate speech is protected by an amendment or anything. Of course, I know my speech is protected by the First Amendment because what I say is completely sensible and it doesn't hurt anyone. You see, I'm a sensible liberal. Uh-oh. That says sensible stuff. I think we should just ban guns. Why do we even need those? With some militia? When are we going to need those things to fight off a tyrant or an oppressive government or something? Anyway, despite that little rant, let's get back on the topic of how our president is an actual Nazi and how he allows right-winged hate speech to spew from people like Steven Crowder to be heard around the country. Honestly, you'd think the government would somehow stop these Nazis from talking. America used to be the example of freedom. But with people like Ben Shapiro saying transgenderism is a mental illness, we need some laws to stop such words being spoken. Maybe we should follow Canada's example. They had a bill called C-16 that can fine or even get people jailed for misgendering someone. But then again, America wouldn't really need such a law if we just lobbed off the tongues of these conservatives. And some of y'all may say, no, they're not Nazis. They're just conservatives expressing their freedom of speech. But trust me, they're definitely Nazis. Like, take Ben Shapiro, for example. He's a little Nazi, and one might argue, oh, but he's a Jew. Well, trust me, he's definitely a Nazi. You'd be surprised how progressive they are nowadays. Well, that's all I got, folks. I guess it's time to bring this show to an end. Leslie, turn off the camera. Dang it, woman, I told you to turn off the camera.
Did you just misgender me?
Oh, shoot.